I had a 2-hour prayer session with a lot of people that were on the front lines. I had prayer sessions with some of my white friends who are allies who were marching and protesting. I had prayer sessions with people who are running for political office in Congress. I had prayer sessions with brothers and sisters that look like me that are hurt and affected by this as well. So these are just some of the strategies that I began to implement as yesterday. So I can say I'm good now.
I love it. I love it. So do you want to talk to our youth and how we can, what's your idea of an action plan? Being that you do deal with youth, you deal with executives, you deal with authors, you deal with schools. I mean, you're all over the place. You have a huge family that's very invested as well.
Yes. Well, first and foremost, I want to say Black Kids Matter. So shout out to my team over there as well. Black Lives Matter, Black Kids Matter, Black Families Matter. And I'm so thankful for every single person in the community that understands and realizes that and wants to help us, right? It's so critical that we're aligning ourselves with people who want to be aligned with this movement. A lot of people think it's a Black versus white thing. It's not a Black versus white thing. It's a everybody versus racist thing. Like this is everybody versus system thing. Like this system is not designed for our advancement and our improvement. So that's one of the things that we need to do. And a lot of young people are so confused, they're angry, and they don't know what to do. So my solution to that is do what you do best. Whatever that thing is, do it to the best of your ability and do it for the advancement of this movement. Because a lot of people say, oh, you shouldn't be protesting. Well, why not? I'm not going to condemn someone for doing what they know how to do, especially if that's what God put in their heart. You know what I'm saying? I saw something online that said, yo, if you are a gangbanger, you're young and you're youthful. And again, I don't condone that lifestyle, but if that's what you decide to do, how come you're not doing that on the front lines, marching for a movement? You understand? So if you're gonna be united in I guess in a criminal or negative sense, how come you're not doing that for a positive thing, right? So you can be a leader. If you can be a leader of a gang, you can be a leader of a movement. If you could be a leader of a gang, you could be a leader of a business. And again, we're not condoning that. I'm just saying that that's an alternative for that lifestyle. I wouldn't be me if I didn't quote the Bible as well.
Please, we need prayer. Prayer is important.
Quote, Romans 12, verse 2, right? And Romans 12, I don't want to mess it up. I want to make sure I get it correct.
I'm praying with you.
Romans 12, verse 2 says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? The issue is we're not doing enough renewing of our minds, right? Like I just quoted Meek Mill earlier. I want you guys to think freely. Back in those times, you couldn't even think for yourself. You had to do, like they said, do as the Romans do. You had to think like the Romans think. You had to do as the Romans do. So in today's time, the government wants us to do what they want us to do. They want us to think like they want us to think, but you got to renew your mind and kind of come from a fresh perspective. You understand? So that involves reading, that involves therapy even. That involves doing what you need to do and thinking clearly, connect with your creator and move in order to move forward. All right. So think clearly, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And like I mentioned before, that includes therapy. And in addition to that, I want you to redirect that rage, redirect the rage into something constructive. Don't move, don't react. Make sure you respond in order to do something and do what you do best. All right. Use your God-given abilities. And this is not the time for us to be fighting with each other. This is the time for us to be uniting. Okay.
Absolutely.
If someone is already a leader, we need to get behind that person. Too many times we're being divisive. Too many times we're being destructive instead of constructive. We need to be uniting in times like this. So again, I thank you for just creating a platform to promote dialogue. Express yourself. Express yourself. That's another key to action in this type of environment. Too many times we're letting our voices be silent. It's like I thought that I thought that when I was younger that I couldn't make a difference. I thought that I couldn't make a change, but there's several ways that you can express yourself. Everybody has a device in their hands. Use that device to tell us how you feel, right? Of course, I'm an author, so I'm going to promote writing all the time, right? I'm going to promote writing all the time. So why don't you write out what you're going through? We're not only in a global pandemic, but we're also in like a race war, right?
Yeah.
We're also in a battle. How come you're not writing about this, right? I tell the young folks all the time, there was a young lady by the name of Anne Frank who got famous for writing in a journal during one of the most difficult times in her life and one of the most difficult times in global history, which was the Jewish Holocaust. So you should grab your journal and express yourself. Write out every day. Well, this is what happened today. I went out on the front lines in Baltimore, in DC, in New York, in Phoenix, in Chicago, and in LA. And I was marching and the police let the dogs out, or we just got into whatever the situation, whatever happened in your day, that particular day, write it out. That could end up being a book. You know what I mean? That could be something that we look at as history, right? Like whatever we're living history right now. So anything that you're doing, you're creating your space in the history books. You better believe when they tell the story, when kids in 20 years from now are reading the story of the year 2020, George Floyd and this movement is going to be a part of it.
Right, right.
And are you one of the leaders in your city? Are you one of the leaders in your town? Are you one of the leaders in your community?
Right.
So you got to express yourself and don't be afraid to have these tough conversations. I've had friends that I haven't spoken to in years reach out to me just to check on me and see how I'm doing. So check on your strong friends, but also if you're a person that's listening to this and you're not Black or brown or part of the movement, you can still find out what you can do to support. Yo, the biggest compliment my white friends have paid me and said, Carl, I can't relate to what you're going through, but I feel your pain.
That's all you want. That's all you want.
I just want you to know that I'm here for you. They said literally, I don't know what to do, but I just want you to know that I'm here for you. That touched my heart. Every time I receive a message like that, I just say, thank you, and I tell them support in any way that you know how, if you don't know what to do and you want to support financially, support somebody financially or support an organization financially. If you are naturally a writer, write it out. And that's how you can support. If you're an artist, support with your artistry. I don't care if you're painting as an artist or you're rapping or singing as an artist. Express yourself. We need all the forms of expression that we can get, and we need all the support we can get. Get behind somebody, what was I about to say? And you can do multiple things at once. It's okay because we need every aspect of this movement to work together. So I'm not going to condemn the brother that's angry and wants to burn something down, even though that's not what I'm going to personally do. I'm not going to condemn it either because I understand where that's coming from. Dr. King said a riot is the language of the unheard. We've been unheard for so long, so I'm not going to knock the brother that wants to do that particular thing. But you can protest and you can feed the homeless at the same time,
right?
Or you can support that. So I understand every aspect of it, and I don't knock any of it.
What are we talking to about really quickly? What are we talking to our teens about? How are they reacting to this? Have you had any contact with any of them?
Yeah, and it's important for us as adults to be the right leaders for them.
Yeah, they're our future. They're the change. They're the ones that can change this.
They are at a crossroads. They're at a fork in the road where they have a lot of displaced anger and they're not 1,000% sure what to do with it.
Right.
And us as adults, we need to be the educators, and we also need to be the their leaders in this situation. And what I mean by education is not just I want you to go past slavery. And a lot of times we only think of American history. I mean, this country was built on slavery, but us as Black people, we're more than slaves. We're some of the most creative, free thinkers, most gifted people on the planet. And that is one of the reasons why we've been suppressed and oppressed and held back for so long. So understanding that, you'll understand yourself, knowing your personal history, not just going as far as your grandfather. Who's your great grandfather? Who's your great 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 grandfather? Who's your great 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 grandfather? I don't even know these things, so I'm taking the steps to go that far back in my family history as well, right? So once you understand yourself, understand that your bloodline is full of kings and queens, you're not going to look at yourself as just another N-word or just another whatever, right? You're gonna understand that you're gifted no matter what anybody says to you. And so that's what I try to instill in the younger generation, is that you are powerful beyond measure. You're the most creative, you're the most gifted, you're the most beautiful. And then when they start to understand that and they start to actually look back and realize that my history did not begin with slavery. I was actually a king back then. My ancestors were queens, my ancestors were kings. They start to view themselves differently. And when you view yourself differently, you're gonna move differently, okay? And again, back to what I said about Meek Mills and quoting Paul in the Bible, it starts with the renewing of your mind, because how we think determines how we feel. How we feel determines what we do, and what we do determines who you are. So you got to think differently. All right. You got to look at yourself and know that this is not my enemy. This is my brother. Right. My enemy is the system. My enemy is this evil, the devil. Like, that's my enemy. But my brother is not my enemy. And for too long, we've been looking at ourselves as enemies. So there's so much we can do. But yes, redirect that rage. And last thing I wanted to say was turn your frustration into fuel for whatever it is that you're looking to do.
No,
Absolutely.
Be constructive and not destructive.
Well, brother, we
Thank
know
you
you
so
on the
much.
front lines, and again, like I said, man, you make our lives easy. We ain't have to ask you no question. You just but again, that's just the power you have, man. So continue blessing success, man, and keep doing the fighting the good fight.
That means a lot to me. Let me just make sure I didn't leave anything out. Like I said, you don't condemn anyone that wants to fight in their own way. Some people want to fight on the front lines. I salute that. Some people want to fight on the political lines. I salute that as well. You know, support your local politics, because a lot of people that are making the worst decisions have come because we haven't voted. You know,
Absolutely.
so I believe that aspect is tremendously important. I believe protesting is tremendously important. I believe praying is tremendously important. So there's several aspects in this thing, and we all need to come together. What I despise seeing is someone commenting on the looting or the rioting and not commenting on the injustice and the murders. Like, what how do you think we got to that point?
Right.
You know, like there's so much to that. So I want to make sure we're not condemning anything. And a lot of people say, oh, I ain't voting because that don't matter. Well, if that's that brother's way of expressing himself, or that sister's way of expressing herself, we should support that. You know?
Right, absolutely. And we're here to support everyone's feelings and emotions. We know it's a very tough time.
Right.
We do want to thank you for empowering us and our youth.
Anytime.
Please be that voice in the school that they can relate to, and see that if he can be that, I can be that. And once again, thank you for being on our panel. We got to move on to our next guest.
Real quick call before you get out. Let people know where they can reach out to you.
Yes.
Oh, everything is at Young Executive. So it's YOUNGEXEKUTIVE, Youth Empowerment Show, Young Executive. So you can catch me in all places, and you can go to youngexecutive.com. And I'm here for you. Please message me, and I'll make sure that I support any way I can. God bless y'all.
Be good,
God bless
man.
you. We love you. Thank you once again.
That's Carl Michel. We're going to continue this thing, the essence. I think we're cooking with grease now. Patricia Robinson or Claudia Toby?
Yes. Well, Patricia Robinson is on time.
Well, then we bring him. I'm just the moderator here. And she's loading up.
Hello.
Hi, Patricia.
Hi, beautiful people. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Hi, Mr. Kevin Pryor. Nice to meet you.
Real pleasure, my dear. Thank you so much for taking some time out through some crazy times, but we definitely appreciate your voice.
Thank you.
I'm so blessed and thankful that you're here on board with us, and we're connecting in a very powerful way. You know,
Yes.
me and you met before on something else, and now we're here working together. So this is even better.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you. I've been watching your journey.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of your leadership and what you're doing, and just the path that you're paving. And I told you the other day, like what you're doing is so important, and I'm just excited about where you're going. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I would like to introduce her. She is the VP of HR and Community Affairs, is it?
Community Engagement.
For Hot 97, Emmis Communications, which is WBLS and WLIB, right? Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And we also are, we teach and we empower, and we're out there every day in the community because I see you. So I figured you would be the best person to have here. And here we are. So you can introduce yourself a little bit more if you like.
Yeah, so as said, I've been in radio for about 19 years, very, very lucky to have sustained that career. It's been a very rewarding one. I'm a professor at Westchester Community College, so I do teach speech and communications, and I've been doing that for about a year now. Very rewarding career. I'm very fortunate to do that. I also work with Colin Kaepernick, so I am the acting executive director for the Know Your Rights Camp, and I've been in that position for about 3 years, so I'm very fortunate to travel the country and to experience some groundbreaking, transformational, amazing work in which we touch lives and do amazing work, and some just incredible, life-changing, rewarding, experiential work that it's just really hard to put in words. And I think today, as we experience where we are today, really is a testament of what we're seeing as we see NYPD kneeling and all of the things that are coming to fruition. And I'm all over the place, but I did send him a text the other day, and I said to him, the universe is calling you. Yeah. And I just left it there, and I said, the universe is calling you. And I said that because I really wanted him to understand, the journey in which he went. The universe is calling him because all of the things that he did represent came full fold. And I spend a lot of time just in the community because I'm a person that I believe that all of the things that I experience should be shared back out. I am not a person that I believe that everything that I experience in terms of the perks and the rewards and all of the accolades and the experiences with the celebrities and all of the things that I am blessed to experience should be honed into myself. I believe in creating opportunity and opening the doors so that I can let people in. That is my sole purpose. I work very, very hard in a space to create myself of excellence so that I can open the door for others to come in. So I spend a lot of time disciplining myself to take myself to the next level so that I can open the doors for students and people so that they can come in and understand that things are achievable, but it doesn't just come with relationships. And I spend a lot of time sharing information, sharing my keys of success. I do a lot of groundwork in where I live. I live in Queens, and I push myself to the max. So I am my own best competitor. So I am a firm believer that you can get a lot done. You can hold 2-3 jobs and still go to work you can go to bed on time, and you can still look fabulous, and you can do all of these things and still get plenty of rest and still, accomplish things and still be well disciplined. But it really is your tenacity and what you want to get out of it. So I just am a woman of
many
life. A Jill of many trades.
Yeah.
So you do have a beautiful grandson that we see you dancing with every
And I'm a grandmother, and I'm 50. Yes.
Grandmother? Wait a minute.
Grandmother.
Check your ID.
Wait a minute.
Straight lit. Yes.
How is the big, to me, he's a child, but how is he dealing with all this? Is he very aware of what's going on? Is he scared? Is he okay? Like, what's going on with him?
Yeah, so, it's interesting because what I've tried to do, he's definitely aware of what's going on because I am very much connected into the news. So he comes in, they do fortunately live with me in the home, and he is aware and taking in some of the news. I don't allow him to take in too much because I don't want to traumatize him too much. But he takes it in spurts. But what I try to do is his mom is here with him, and we try to give him home economic projects and keep him busy. But I do have a 24-year-old son, so I'm spending a lot of time having conversations with him. And my 24-year-old son is a direct service professional, so he is out in the evenings taking care of mentally disabled elderly at night. So you know, I'm a black mother first, right? So my concern is making sure that he's safe and that he's coming home at night and things of that nature. So what concerns me most of all right now is that we are in a public health crisis, right? And what strikes me most importantly is that it feels like the public health crisis had to be put on hold because we had to deal with racism.
Right.
So racism has now taken priority over the public health crisis, which is sad, right? Social distancing had to be put on the side because we had to deal with some racism stuff first. And that concerns me because I feel like there may be a second wave of the COVID crisis that wasn't really taken into consideration because we were fighting for our survival. We were fighting to put forth a message that our value, our survival was important. And that really saddens me to a level of it hurts, right? You know, if you look at the numbers right now, we have over 40 million people unemployed.
Wow.
40 million people unemployed.
Wow.
I don't condone the looting and the stealing, but if you understand what's going on, people right now do not have money.
No.
There is a second stimulus bill that is hung it's hung up. It's not approved. If you are paying attention to the CNN right now, the White House right now is bombarded with military. He has now surrounded the White House with military. I don't know if it's optics or power. So we are in times like we have never seen before.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it feels like the brunt of the suffrage continues to dominantly fall on colors or communities of color. But what I have seen over the last few days is that there has been a unison of camaraderie, not only from Black people, but from all people across the world. So you've seen all of the corners of the earth coming together, and there have been protests coming together from all corners of the earth. At the same time, what's alarming is that I've never seen our world on fire across the world.
Yeah.
Our world is literally on fire across the world. So that's really alarming.
Patricia,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yes. Let me ask you, being a seasoned professional in media, and we're watching, again, if you took two people who live in a diverse neighborhood and one watched MSNBC and the neighbor watched Fox, they would see two different lanes of what life is. Now, somebody who's been in radio for the amount of years you've been in and been in media, has the media from COVID to now civil unrest to even what's happened at 1600 Pennsylvania, have they really told the narrative of the story, or has it been a lot of filler into the cake? Like, is it really what is happening? Like, people, because we do programs and we bring on political figures and people ask them questions, and like there's always different answers. So is the media now more of entertainment, or is it again true information?
I think at first it was more entertainment, and I think it's slowly starting to get into the truth. If you notice, there was an overuse of this word disproportionate.
Yeah.
We got to a point where the word disproportionate was being overused to a point where I'm like, how many people are going to use the word disproportionate? It became like this hanger word of disproportionate in the communities of color. And I just feel like, here's the thing. I work in corporate, right? As a Black woman, as an HR professional. I'm also a Black woman that grew up in the projects, and I know what it is.
Right.
I also have to straddle the line in terms of holding my HR professionalism in a corporate environment and holding true to my authentic self and telling the true story, and understanding how to make sure that they understand what it is. So there's a fine art to making sure that I can be authentic, my authentic self.
Right.
And so there's this art that has to go forth even in the workforce from a leadership perspective. So it's just, there's so many complexities to it. And so I spend a lot of my time as a professional, and that's why I share of myself to young people, because a lot of young people come in and they just want to get an entertainment, they want to gloss and they want to do all of this. You don't necessarily have to be on the stage to be in the entertainment field. There's a lot of places to grow. And what I try to share with people is that you have to do your work. You have to become disciplined in your craft. You have to spend time becoming disciplined in telling your story, becoming a good discipline of your story, becoming a good steward of your education. Absolutely. In order to become a really good expert in whatever it is you want to do.
Harness your craft.
Right. Yeah. Here's what we've become good at. And I will stick to this to the end of time. We have become good at, we've become master storytellers of our problem. That's what we're good at. That's what we're good at. We are amazing designers of our creative graphic. If you look on social media, we the best graphic designer image. We got the best graphic designer art graphics. We so dope at it. We can put together the best networking events. We tell all of our problems, but we do not have good action plans. We do not know how to create. We do not know how to execute. We don't know how to go and tackle the problem. We know how to tell the problem. We know how to identify the problem. We don't know how to get to the action step of the problem.
How can we fix that?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you what I started to do, because I was a part of the thing. I used to just know how to tell a problem. And I found myself like a master storyteller. I'm like, Pat, you're ineffective. You just become really good at telling the problem. So here's what I started to do. I started inserting myself in uncomfortable spaces. I started sitting into information sessions that I had nothing to do with. I sat into the Metropolitan Bar Association of Legal free resources of legal associations. I sat where their Black attorneys were. They were giving out free resources. I was like, I ain't an attorney, but I'm gonna sit here and listen to what they talking about. I'm gonna pick up on some. I'm gonna write notes. Right. And I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna learn some things. I'm gonna write some things. I'm gonna learn what they talking about. Even if it's I'm in a bizarro war. I started listening and I would join in every week. Boom. I started going into places where the councilmen were. I started listening on them. I started going into places where I could learn things that I didn't know. So I started becoming a steward of going into places where I didn't know stuff. And now here's what I'm gonna do. I freeload off of information.
Student of the game.
I'm loading it up with places. I'm loading this up. I'm putting it all in here. And so now when I go out, I can participate in conversations, or I can hear things and I can participate in places. If somebody's saying something, I can intelligently either hear it and know what they're talking about, or participate, and I can put together a small action plan. Don't have to be grandiose. So I can participate in some degree of something. That's a start, right? Number two, I signed up for my community board. Right? I did that. And then I held my community board. I put my application in and I watched the application process because I wanted to see how long it was going to take them to approve it.
Right.
I wanted to make them accountable to the application process. I want to see how long it take you. Yeah, because I want to be a part of the process.
Right.
I want to see, right? So when I get in there, I want to see how the meetings go. I'm going to start making people accountable to what it is. Why are you getting paid? What programs do you have for our community? What decisions are you making that are going to benefit our children? Right. So when I get in there are residents in here that are not going to engage on their own. So when I get in there, I'm going to engage the residents. Y'all don't have to come out. I'm going to come and find y'all. I'm going to be proactive. So I'm going to change the strategy. You see what I'm saying? So it's going to take reverse strategy to start doing different things. That's another thing. So it's like you got to create things on your own to be involved. But the most important thing, which is free to all, and it don't cost a thing. Guess what it is? It's this. It's my mouth. It's this tool. It's my therapy.
Your strongest
It's
tool.
within me.
Yeah.
I ain't scared. What you scared for? What?
Right.
It's within me. It's what's going to get my job. It's what's going to get me paid.
Yeah.
It's what's going to let you know I exist. It's what's going to let you know you ain't going to take advantage of me. It's what's going to let you know I got value.
Yeah.
I don't need no crew. I can stand on my own too. I'm good. You hear me, you see me. Anything that come with me is extra added value, boo, but I'm good on my own too. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Patricia, I would love to see you 25 years ago. You probably put somebody to work.
You know what I'm saying? See? It's free. So I teach people how to use that. It's a tool. It's free. I teach you how to find it within yourself and use it. It's free. So we got to teach ourselves how to pull that thing right out of you and use it. It's a free tool. It's power.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Patricia. Any last words you have? And let them know where they can find you as well.
Absolutely. So people can follow me on HR Radio Lady, and I have my website at www.misspatRobinson.com. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you. And so nice to meet you, Kevin.
It's a
and
real
thank you.
pleasure.
Essence, keep doing it. And let me tell you something. Everything ain't got to be Black to be beautiful. Latina here. And this is another thing, women that are listening. I embrace leadership. I embrace leadership. I embrace next generation leadership because there is room for more than one. It is not just about me. I embrace empowerment. I embrace the expansion of leadership. That's what we're supposed to do because I want to see her grow and we're going to expand this. So y'all stay tuned for her.
Yes.
No cap. We behind them 110%.
Oh, absolutely.
No doubt.
Thank you, guys.
Love you.
Love
Bless
you too,
you.
guys.
We'll talk behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, love. Thank you. That was amazing. That's Patricia Robinson from Hot 97.
I'm going to bring in Claudia Toby.
Yes, let's get Toby on the line. He's been waiting
very patiently.
You know. Hey, Mr. Toby.
How are you doing?
We're
Thank
great.
you, brother, for
Toby,
being
meet
patient.
Kevin Pryor, meet Toby.
Listen,
Salute, my brother.
pleasure to meet you, Kevin. We may slow down. We never stop. Nothing's going to get in our way.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So I would like to introduce Randall E. Toby, who is the creator of Breakfast with Our Boys series. He was on my Instagram last week and we had an amazing, empowering conversation. He is also the author of Suited for Success. And he also does a mentoring group for men and youth. So we're welcoming you to the platform. Thank you for being here today and just working with us all weekend. And we would love for you to give a little brief description of what you do and let us know what have you been thinking about in terms of an action that we need to start acting on,
Well, first of all, please go ahead.
No. And we're just hoping that you are well today.
I am doing very well. I want to thank you and Kevin for sharing a few moments of your time with me. Greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's a blessing. You're another blessing in my life recently. So thank you.
As you know, this is a long-term relationship. We're just getting started.
That's right.
So as far as what I do is as an author of a book, which is a bestseller, we go into the schools and have conversations with young men around the book. Suited for Success is 25 stories from 25 different men of color, talking about our adversity, what we learned from it, and how we use it to propel us to our success. And so volume 2 is currently out. I have a chapter in both books. The first book, I write about my mother's mental illness and being homeless. And in volume 2, I discuss what it was like growing up without a father that had some notoriety in his industry and being left out. As far as my thoughts on what's going on, there's a lot, guys. One thing is we cannot arrest ourselves to end this issue.
Right.
Listening to the current administration, they're talking about cracking down, being tough, but not looking at the wound. That is very dangerous. They're not looking at what actually happened and what caused us to do this. So as both of you know, people of color have been ignored in this country, even though we helped to build the country for free. And so just like the Verizon commercial years ago, can you hear me now? That's where we are.
No doubt. You obviously, again, I mean, it's again, you think about this and it's like, this is the situation that happened in Minneapolis is kind of the tip of the iceberg. But this has been bubbling for years. I mean, again, as Black men growing up in New York, you've seen this, and the thing about it, while yes, this was played out in our eyes, I know for me, it made me think about my own experience with authority. And I'm sure a lot of people felt that way. They can remember their own experience and times were like, you know what, they did the same thing to me. And that could have been me on the ground 9 minutes. And
Absolutely.
I think, again, we need understanding. And I say this to all my friends who are non-African American. Like, I don't expect you to understand my plight, but I do expect you to have sympathy and remorse and realize when something is wrong, speak on it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And I think a big problem is people like to follow people of color and speak our language, wear our clothing, listen to our music, but they don't want to handle our pain.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. You can't have one without the other. If you're enjoying our talents, then support us during these difficult times as well.
The great Paul Mooney once said, everybody want to be one. I won't use the word, but everybody don't want to be one. So
Absolutely,
again,
sir.
you know, and if we had people loving our culture as much as they loved us, we wouldn't have this summit. We wouldn't have to have this conversation.
You understand.
Yeah.
And if we look back at history, even in the 1800s, so like around the 1950s, lynching Afro-Americans was the norm. People would gather together and watch it with their kids. They would take parts of the body as souvenirs. Don't you think at some time people are going to get tired of being used as a piece of trash? So even though I don't condone the violence,
Right.
I completely understand when someone's not listening to you, you're going to get upset.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. It's just like, again, if you have a problem in your home and people go, well, yeah, you know, we all got issues. I don't want to hear about that. Nobody wants to talk race. But again, what has happened is it's live and in person. When they're shooting reporters from CNN getting shot with rubber bullets, you are live at the front line. And no matter if you don't want to deal with it or people who just want to close their eyes, you got to deal with it. And the fact that we're dealing with a pandemic that's killed over 100,000 people, and that tell you how important it is. Because why would you run into a building, a fire, a five-alarm fire? Why would you run in unless you was a fire person? So people are running out. And I tell people all the time, I know is things happening, and it's not all people who are about the protest, but people are running into a five-alarm fire. When they start shooting tear gas, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to cough, right? So again, that's how important this is. That I spoke to somebody the other day, and they was like, you know what, Kev, at this point, I'm ready to die. Because if my kids can't be safe, if my wife can't be safe, then what is it? You cannot demasculate us any further. And I think this is what people have to realize, that, you know, this is not something we brought to the table. This is a reaction to multiple reactions.
And like you said, Kevin, people have to understand that the system was set up for those at the top to control everything.
Right.
And the rest of us have to fight against each other for the crumbs. So it comes down to power and wealth and control, as we all know.
Yeah.
So people have to understand we have to vote. I know it may sound crazy, but check this out. When you go to the DA's office and they're going to prosecute someone, if you had voted, you put the person in that thinks like you. Am I correct?
Yeah.
If you're going to be arrested by a police officer, you have an officer that has lived in your community that understands how you think. So we have to get involved, because when you don't go to jury duty because you don't want to waste time, that's a person of a Black and brown background that can be convicted because you didn't have the other voice. So it's very important.
Very important. Very important. Are you in communication with any of the youth or the men at this moment? And if you are, what are the major concerns? And before we leave, because we do have other guests, what is your call for action? Like, what do you have planned in your sector of things?
Well, Coach O and I from the Opportunity League is going to be holding a conversation very similar to this. We're reaching out to our local police chief, who will be part of it. Also New York City police officers, which are going to be part of it. And we were supposed to do it last week before the riots, but we decided to launch that next week. One important thing we have to do, and I know we have limited time, is we have to teach the children at a young age that the
Yes.
black man is not your enemy. We
Say
have
that
to
again.
start
Say
at
that one more
kindergarten.
time.
We have to teach these children at a very young age that the black man is not your enemy, and we all need to work together. Just like people fight for animal rights, there's 1,000 commercials about help this cat and dog. Well, help out the rest of this country that helped to build this country, and we can do it better together.
Now for our youth, because we do have a little bit of time. What's your advice for our youth to get involved, or how they should be thinking? You deal with a lot of young men, you deal with men coming out of being incarcerated, you know. Talk to us a little bit about that.
One of the biggest things we tell them is to become known in your community.
Mhm.
Go to the community board meetings. Get
Yeah.
to know who the president is. You know, we have a national election, but if you realize the power starts locally, in Harlem, in Brooklyn, in Jersey, in Virginia. So when you start to know the people that are in charge, they start to respect you and listen to you. And then think about running for office, a leadership role, so you can bring like-minded, fair people in to give balance. Because you can't have the police police themselves.
Right.
You need an independent body to oversee what's going on, so that.
I think he froze.
Oh, the devil's always trying to work. Always trying to
It
work.
happens in live communication. Nothing to do about it. Hopefully he can get back in, because I think he was getting.
Oh, there he goes.
Okay, good. I think I see him moving. Okay, here we go. Go, continue,
Okay.
bro.
The devil was trying to work.
So
Not over here.
not a problem. What did I leave off on?
You was talking about it, the community, getting to know the people in your community, the board members and things of that nature.
Yes.
What you can do, yeah.
Right.
And also the other thing I was saying is, it's important to have a body for oversight for the police department that is a separate entity, not part of the police department. And also your hiring practices, diversity training, community policy, so that you have community leaders get together with you. When you work together, people are not afraid of you based on what you see on TV and the lies that are told about all people of color.
Without question. And I think, again, that poster you have in the back, Suited for Success, is so poetic, because, you know, growing up, one of my proudest moments was when I was able to put on a suit for the first time and tie a tie. It
Yes,
gives
sir.
you an image. It's like a uniform. It's a badge. It's a badge of professionalism. Like you made it. You done something. And again, I think your young people, even in a world of casual dress, need to realize the power of that suit. So I salute you on that, brother.
Listen, PK Kersey, who put together the project, is with That Suits You. And what he did is he works with kids with suits. It's very important to understand that when people look at you, they view you, and within the first 7 seconds decide who you are.
Yes.
Yep.
Your presentation is everything, and kids need to learn
Call it. Yes, sir.
all the time. And my first job in retail was at Lord & Taylor. When I got in there with those clothes, I wanted to wear the bow tie and the suspenders. So today's generation doesn't have that duality. They dress down the majority of the time. They need to have balance when it comes to dress and presentation.
Without question.
And how was that for you working at Lord & Taylor as a Black man in the United States?
It really opened my eyes. It helped me to understand what I wanted and what I didn't want. It gave me exposure to a huge audience, because many of the clients, were wealthy and came from other areas. So I started to see how the diversity worked. When the woman told me, well, I don't want the wallet that you gave me. I want a brand new one out the back, because this one has a crease.
Okay.
And now you understand the mindset, how some people think.
Yeah.
And that's why our police department has to stop using military equipment, which is intimidating, and says, let's fight.
Yes.
Our country needs to treat drug addicts and mentally ill patients differently too, because they need help.
Absolutely. Do you have any last words to say?
The last words that I want to say is, we've screamed, we've yelled, We've lit things on fire. Now it's time to hit them in the pocket and at the ballot. Spend your money in your community, start your businesses, and bring people that are not of color in with you, because together we're a lot more powerful, because we're more alike than you'll ever know.
A fist punches harder than just individual fingers. Thank you, my brother. Where can people reach out to real quick?
So much, Toby.
About you?
Yeah, appreciate you. We will talk soon, guys. Continued success and blessings.
Yes, give out your information to our viewers and listeners.
Absolutely. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Breakfast with Our Boys. That's Breakfast with Our Boys. Or you can follow me at Randall E. Toby, Toby. Honor and pleasure.
Salute, my brother.
Blessings.
Thank you. Look forward to meeting in person. Have a blessed night.
You too. Thank you so much, Toby.
Talk to you soon.
Will do. Wow. I just love our panel. They're just amazing individuals.
Well, I mean, again, you put this together, and as Kim is logging in, hopefully, I think waiting on a camera to come in.
Yes, I just want to thank everyone who's watching us, sharing the video. We're on Instagram. I'm doing it here for the ones that can't get on Facebook for whatever reason. We're on Facebook Live as well under the Essence Romero or Kevin Pryor. We will have our next guest coming in, Kim Osorio, who is from The Source magazine, legendary hip hop magazine.
She fell out.
Okay.
I didn't touch nothing.
Okay.
Before you start blaming me, get in line.
I'm not gonna blame you.
So hopefully she'll dial back in.
So we'll have her come on, and then if anybody else comes on, we'll add them in. If not, then me and Kevin will say our closing remarks and start working on this and get this out to major platforms and fish it out to our contacts and have them share it and put it out there on their platforms as well. I just want to thank everyone for being here with us. We started off with an opening prayer. And then we went to Ruben Diaz Jr., Bronxborough president. Then we spoke to author of children's books, also a radio host, Anna Nayakana. I'm going to text her now. Also, we've had Michel from Y.E.S series, Patricia Robinson from High 97, VP. So we're basically covering all sections here. Let me see if I can text, because right now I'm like.
And the beautiful thing about it is that it's a mosaic. We're all hurting in multiple different ways, but people have different forms of expression. And I think that's what makes us special as people, is that we all could have one common goal, but we take multiple roads to get there. And I think that's what we're doing, is just people are taking different routes. And I think, sometimes in life, the alarm clock has to go off, whether you're ready to get up or not, whether you had 10 hours of sleep, whether you had 10 seconds of sleep. And when the alarm clock rings, you got to come up and perform. And if you don't, then you'll get stepped on. And I think, again, we are learning that, and we're putting that to use, and we're taking that anger and that pain, and we're trying to find answers. And I think now, as we come into day 7, we're trying to find ways to now be better, fight for justice, and make sure that those situations that happened, those people are accountable. And I think, again, that's so important. But also now, how do we survive? How do we advance? How do we keep going? How do we become better?
Right.
How do we become better?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She's just mentioning that she's having some issue logging in. So I told her maybe she can try through her phone instead of her. I think she might have been on a laptop, right? We saw an AOL there.
Yeah. Well, that just could have been her. That could have just been her. How she logs into Zoom through her. That's on your phone or computer. It's the same username.
I just want to shout out some people from Instagram. I guess we can take a break. I have my mommy, The Essence, in here. Douglas Mid-Reed is in here. Travis Michel. Douglas Reed said that Toby is also a fashion trendsetter. Mommy Y.E.S said he was a very good speaker and had beautiful jewels. And we have the beautiful Kim Osorio in the house. Yeah,
Sorry.
Success.
Yeah, you know, I've never had that issue happen on Zoom before. It was telling me I needed to update my Zoom. So I had to.
It did it to me too, Kim. It did it to me too. Meanwhile, I was on it just last week.
I was on it like the other day, but for some reason, maybe it was the live and the Facebook thing.
Well, to give you ladies some insight, because I'm not that I'm a Zoom connoisseur, but they did change on the 31st. They did change their some up. You need to update on the 31st. Today's the first. So that might have been if you came on Saturday, then you wouldn't have had that.
Okay.
I just play a technology expert on TV.
Sorry.
I don't really know this stuff.
I'm a day late. It's only the first. He's like on the 31st, they changed it. So it's been a whole 24 hours. Not sure what you were doing, Kim, but I updated it.
Kim, I want to formally introduce you to Kevin Pryor of 950 Lounge Network.
Hi,
Mr.
Kevin.
Osorio, it's a true pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
Definitely a voice of a generation, of multiple generations. And I'm excited to have this opportunity to speak to you. And again, we'll get right into it with what's happening. You know, nothing new to people from our communities, but for some reason, this was kind of like this kind of was the pot running over. Your thoughts and your opinions on, again, being a voice of a generation, like I just mentioned, and your feelings on what's transpiring in our world today.
And before you start, can you just introduce yourselves to the viewers and the listeners?
They know who this woman is.
Well, some don't, so we're gonna have to get them in line.
My name is Kim Osorio. I am first and foremost a hip hop journalist, former editor-in-chief of The Source magazine, and currently an executive producer for VH1 shows such as Love and Hip Hop and, you know, Black in Chicago. You know, so I've been mostly in the television space over the last couple of years, but, you know, reporting journalism, like that is the core of, I think, who I am, just writing and telling stories. So, you know, to see what's going on right now, it's heartbreaking. The protests are necessary. You know, our community is hurt.
Right.
Our community is angry. And I think the timing of what we're seeing, particularly, you know, right smack dab in the middle of coronavirus and this shutdown of the world, really, right? Because, you know, New York on pause, but really everyone's been in their house. Yep. So I do believe there is a mental piece of this that we need to focus on as well to make sure everybody's okay.
Right.
You know, but it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see. Just me, I've been very active, I think, in terms of the reporting from the sidelines. And when I say that, I mean, I don't write as much anymore. What I do now is I communicate.
Right.
And I communicate with people who are on the front lines. And I make sure people that I know who are out there are well informed and educated on certain issues to the best of my ability. So I feel like I've been using my strengths in that way, just in terms of being a connector, being someone who puts people together, being someone who advises, and is able to speak on what we're seeing, just from a different viewpoint. I think, you know, we all have our own POVs, but I'm a mother first. And so that it's heartbreaking. Like this morning when I woke up I think one of the first things I saw was the 22-year-old who lost his life, who was protesting.
Yeah.
His name's escaping me right now. And that's a shame that there's so many lives being lost. And I can't remember this kid's name. I mean, I can Google it real quick, but it was in Omaha, Nebraska. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with that story. I think it just broke this morning. It happened last night. He was protesting. There are conflicting stories, you know, because of course, one of the first things that you read is that he was breaking a window at a bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I read, as a journalist, I dig, I don't accept what I read. So I dig, and that's one of the things, like, I think our community needs to just be mindful of, right? Like, you can't believe everything that's out there.
Absolutely.
You have to do your homework. You have to establish a network of people who are informed and educated. You have to share information. And I'm really, really big on that right now. So it's heartbreaking to see what's happening. But we all need to stick together in this time.
Yes, and that
Absolutely.
22-year-old was Don Klein, rest in peace. In the Omaha bar you're referring to, Kim.
What's his name? I think that's not his name. I'm like, God help me if there's another person.
That's the report. I apologize. I heard the story earlier this morning too, and I can't recall a name, but it wasn't an Omaha bar, and it was the owner of the bar that fatally killed him.
Yes,
Wow.
and the kid's name, I have it in front of me because I share this information with people as it's happening. His name is James Scurlock. So he was 22-year-old and he was killed outside a bar in Omaha. This just happened. There's also a kid in Chicago who was, I don't know if they found him yet. I haven't done my scouring of the news over the last couple of hours, but a kid in Chicago, I think he was 19. I could be mistaken. He's missing. You know, he was last seen being arrested by the police.
Yeah.
And now the police have no record of him.
Right.
Okay.
These are scary stories. And again, when it resonates, obviously we know about the cases that are taking a national appeal, but these are things that are happening every day in every city. And this is why people are risking health in a pandemic, because again, we all have our own mortality. Like I said earlier in this conversation about when I was younger, being pulled over and having that issue and realizing that at 7, 8 years old, I had to be taught that, you know what, you when you get pulled over by an officer, you have to, yes, sir, no, sir. And, succumb, take the bass out of your voice. You almost have to reinvent yourself. And sometimes it's unfortunate that there's a different blueprint for some kids than others.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're saying is so on point. And I was, one of the videos that was shared with me earlier was the video of the FBI agent who was profiled, right? So I'm sure you guys saw that went around. If you look at the way he handled himself, right? He was trained. He knew exactly what to do. He was smart. But everybody's not going to be like that. Everybody's not an FBI agent, right? So that's what really spoke to me about that video, because I'm like, well, of course, he just waited patiently. And it was almost like he waited in a way where he was like, I can't wait till these guys figure out who I am, right? Like it felt like that.
Yeah.
But it was because he knew he was not going to jail. He knew once they figured, so he was calm. He didn't resist. He just waited patiently. And what I got from that video was like, everybody's not going to be that way, because everyone is going to be emotional about being profiled. Right. He almost expected it. He was like, you guys are going to feel real stupid when you figure out who I am, you know? And I think that was an important one to see, just because we know that kids who may be profiled, by the police, they're not going to react as calmly. Right. They're going to, maybe resist or maybe be emotional. And the police just, are going to react the way they're going to react. It's a sad situation to see it from his lens, right? To watch that video and see how they were acting, how he was profiled as an FBI agent, like he was he kept telling them, I'm not the guy you think I am. he kept saying that. He kept saying it calmly, and they continued to arrest him.
Well, I think we've noticed that even what happened in Central Park last week with you know, the woman claiming that a black man was attacking her and he just telling her to put the dog on a leash. There is a certain form that people have in the word of white privilege that people can use, and people who use that to their advantage know what they're doing. And you know, again, it's that gentleman, that FBI agent, had the reverse effect because he knew how to play the game, and he said, you know what, you're not going to get me because I know what I got the magic pill.
Right.
And you know, again, they didn't know that. They just figured he was just some really sarcastic individual. But again, he was able to flip the script, and that's something that we have to teach our young men, because again, it's a survival tactic.
The survival tactic. And I think that's important when I talk about sharing information, educating each other, making sure we're informed. Like I've had about 3 or 4 conversations with people who have really big platforms, right? I'm talking millions of followers. And the conversation has just been about, and this is why I posted something today on my Instagram feed. It's been about the degree, the murder charge for the officer who, you know, had his knee on Floyd's neck. So people were calling, people with huge platforms were calling for a first-degree murder charge.
Absolutely. Third degree is no.
No, absolutely. I need to explain something. This is why I posted about it, because I understand that the reason why I know this is because I have gone to law school. So it's not to take away from my community. It is merely to educate people on legal process and criminal procedure.
Right.
So you cannot, if you charge someone by definition with first-degree murder, that charge will rarely stick, right? Because you need to satisfy all the elements of the definition of first-degree murder. This is process now. This is not anything I expect my community that has not either studied law or been a police officer. I do not expect my community to know this, but I want them to understand. So when you call for a first-degree murder charge, you're asking the prosecutor to have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt all of the elements of a first-degree murder. And if you look by definition, because every state is different, if you look by definition of first-degree murder, you will see the element of premeditation. And that is going to be a very, very hard thing to prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
Well, you know, Kim, you're absolutely correct. And I think, again, you know, this is the game between chess and checkers. But the first-degree murder piece could come into play because the two worked together and had a relationship. So now if that can be pursued that, hey, you know what, these two knew each other, and you know, whatever happened where, okay, now I know where he's at this store, that's where it can happen. But you're right, you got to take baby steps with it, because right now, when we first found the information, it was just, okay, a random, you know, killing of an unarmed black.
Right. And I think, you know, I'm not a lawyer. Well, I went to law school, but I do not practice law, right? So I can't speak. I wish that a well-educated practicing criminal attorney would get out there and let our community know. I'm sure they're on CNN talking about it. However, on social media, where our community lives and breathes what's going on, right? So I can't explain it, you know, the way that I would like to explain it, because this is like, I'm not gonna say how many years removed, but a lot of years removed from it. You know, the premeditation part, right? Again, you have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, right? So the jury's gonna have to say all of these elements, we believe beyond that, there's no doubt about it.
Right.
And to me, premeditation, because that story is, you know, it's a little tricky. You know, did he wake up in the morning thinking I'm gonna go? It's there's too much legalese to get into it, right? But if you know, you think about double jeopardy and what that is. This is so hard for me to talk about because I'm so far removed from it, and I don't want to say the wrong thing.
But you're doing
right?
a great job, Kim. Go ahead.
Thank you. You can't be charged again, right? So if the first degree murder charge doesn't stick, that you can't try that person again.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that the case is, built in a way, and this again is something that we don't understand because we haven't been trained in this stuff, right? Unless you're going to law school. So I see a lot of people with big platforms saying, no, third degree murder is not enough. We need first degree. And I've had these conversations. I'm like, listen, stop talking about the degree murder because you're not a lawyer. Right. Like, so understand, like, you got to get the right people in position to be able to fight these cases. And if you see that, and I know that I've heard like Jay-Z was, really behind the scenes. He made that phone call.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was able to affect change with a phone call.
Right.
For whatever his motivation was, I don't care. He did it, right?
Right.
He did it, and that's what we need. We need to put pressure on people in our community that have influence and power.
Absolutely.
And those people need to step up and make change, and they can make change. You see, Charlemagne makes one comment, Diddy makes one comment. Look at how we change as a community. So that's what I do behind the scenes as well. I'm calling people with huge followings, with a lot of power, with a lot of influence to step up and do what they need to do to affect change.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, go ahead, D. Go ahead, yes.
Just a real quick question. Because you're on production and you are on 3 top amazing shows and everybody's watching, especially our brown and black females and boys, what is your idea of action that you can do to present that in these shows for watch?
I think
hip-hop, sometimes there is racial stuff, they're fighting against each other. We talked about all of that before.
Yes.
So how can we make this a better situation to watch?
Well, for one, I would love for everyone involved to focus on what we need to focus on. And what I've seen from a lot of my cast and a lot of producers behind the scenes is that we are focused on this. Right now, production is down and has been down since the coronavirus shutdown. So like everyone has been home. No one has been filming. And a lot of productions were just put on pause.
Absolutely.
So none of that stuff is even relevant, I think, right now, because we're not there yet.
Okay.
And I'll talk to that about when we do get there. But as producers, like we've already, I had a call yesterday with one of my colleagues about putting together a sort of task force, right? Because the media has changed, coverage has changed, the way that we report on this stuff, the way that we are influencers by being producers, that has all changed. So what we are doing is we have a call tomorrow just to organize, as producers on these shows and see what we can produce to help. This is not something that we're doing for financial benefit. This is like, how do we get together, whether it's a big town hall, a cross-platform initiative that we have where we can come together, and the ultimate goal being to raise money to put our money where our mouths are, right? And we know that if we can, get the eyeballs, because as I was saying, there is so much influence from people in these entertainment positions, right? We get the eyeballs, we raise the money, and we take action, and also I want to add, I'm like cutting myself off, but I also want to add just being able to register to vote and the voting initiative. We've seen it before, but I feel like our vote is split right now.
Yeah.
And we've got to get back on track. We have to get back on track, and we have to kind of go full speed ahead. We're in June. We're not that far away.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Kim, again, this has been great, Jules, chatting with you. And you mentioned again how you're working now, reaching out to people who have those type of superstar followings where you have that reach. And you mentioned Jay-Z making the call to the governor of Minnesota. But there's been a lot of talk about a lot of artists that have obviously value through the African-American, Hispanic communities that are not giving back. I know Don Lemon made a comment on CNN the other night about, actually rattling off names of people who he reached out to that were afraid to hurt their brand. Your thoughts on that? Being a Hollywood A-lister, should people at this stage of the game be afraid to speak? Because by being afraid to speak will only highlight them to put the light on them even more.
So I have mixed feelings on this. I actually heard Don Lemon.
Mm-hmm.
I will give you a tidbit. The night before, and this is why when I talked about Jay-Z, I said, look, I don't know what he was planning to do. The night before, I actually heard Funk Master Flex on Hot 97.
Right.
And he was really going in on this issue before Don Lemon.
Right.
So he was saying, and he was calling out names. And obviously one of the names he called out was Jay-Z. Right. I'm not saying Flex made that happen, right? But the next day, the news broke.
Right.
That he called the Minnesota mayor the next day. And I know this because I talked to a few of my friends that same night that heard the Flex rant. Yeah. Going at Jay, because we're listening to that stuff, right?
Right.
And he was putting like 100, dropping 1,000 bombs on it. Where are you? Say something, right? To me, that's pressure.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Whether or not Jay was already planning it, and he might have been, but there was pressure applied on someone who we look at as, being in a position of power.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that happened, and Don Lemon got on CNN and did the same thing the next day, like started calling names.
Yeah.
The reason I say I have mixed feelings is sometimes I feel like things can get a little bullying-ish, right?
Yeah.
Social media pressure, like you see a lot of people saying things and it's not to say, look, I just don't do it, but like, I'm not going to tell my friends or the people who follow me, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Right.
Post right now. Because I don't know what they're doing. They could be doing other things. Maybe they're actually on the front lines and they're not posting because they're actually out there.
Yeah.
So, I do feel a way about some of that stuff that I see online. And I know that people probably aren't directing it at, not at everyone, right? Maybe you're directing it at the person who you see post every day, right? And that person all of a sudden has nothing to say. You know what I mean? But there's so many people out there, and the internet cyberbullying gets heavy.
Yeah.
And when I say, we have to take care of our mental and our emotions,
absolutely,
that's what I'm talking about, right? So I try not, even sometimes when I post things, I go back and I want to check and make sure I'm like not hurting anyone's feelings. And I know it's weird, right? But like, I'll go back and I'll be like, well, so-and-so take what I'm saying as.
Yeah. I think about that all the time, even on my lives. And I don't know if it's because I'm light skinned and I'm afraid that people might think I'm not like experienced or don't know what they're going through. But we Latinos, we go through the same thing. Trust me.
Yeah.
Well, as a black man, I don't care.
Way. I think also it has a lot to do with growing up in the Bronx. It's like, it's a little different. Sometimes when you go out of New York City, I often go out of New York City and my light-skinnedness is received differently.
Absolutely.
In New York, it's not like that at all. In New York, it's like, I know who you are, where you from.
Right.
Yeah.
When you start to go into different parts of the country, and which is why I say I'll never leave New York, by the way, which is why I'm like, this is my home, even though I'm in Jersey, this is my home, and culturally, it's where I am most comfortable.
Right.
Culturally, New Yorkers understand who I am. I've, spent a lot of time in Chicago, in Detroit, in LA, and culturally, I don't feel as good
Yeah,
as I do in New York. And
absolutely.
that's my issue, right? But definitely like being here and just kind of like this melting pot and people understanding different cultures, the different Caribbean cultures.
Yeah.
All the Caribbean cultures we have in New York don't exist in, these other
Right.
well, they probably exist, but not to the degree they are in New York.
Right.
In New York, everybody's from one of the islands, right? Like in New York, it's like what are you, Jamaican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Trinidadian? In New York, everyone is just, the skin color is different, but we all have very similar roots, right? In this community,
Absolutely.
in our community.
It makes our
What I
mosaic so great because of that. And that, I think that's what defines us as people here in this city, because again, it doesn't really matter. We all come from that same belly and we're all that push. And I think it's so poetic, even with what's going on with COVID, it's what's keeping us going. We're the epicenter of this disease globally.
Right.
But again, we're so tough. And like I said, that includes New Jersey, tri-state area, Connecticut. That's all, it's all under the tri-state. So, you know, it's what it's all about.
Right. So, I mean, I just think for us, we have to continue to stay connected, stay informed, stay active, right?
Absolutely.
Like we can't lose this. The minute, how things come and go, right? This is major, right? We've never seen something like this. I'm trying to think in our lifetime, I know that a lot of the media was taking this back to the Rodney King
LA.
verdict, right? And I'm like, and then I heard some people
to the Boston Tea Party at one point too.
Yeah, like the references to it hasn't been this bad since.
Yeah.
Those are wake up calls for us.
Yeah.
To look out and say, okay, wait a minute. We need to fix this. We need to figure this out, And I'm seeing a lot more leaders now, I think, step up and say, hold on, before we destroy our own communities.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's what this was all about, to try to, like, again, we know people upset and we know people are angry. But again, now once that anger subsides, okay, how do we get better? What do we do? What is our next step? And now I think, again, we're finding heroes within. People are saying, you know what? I look in the mirror and I'm going to be a leader. I'm going to help. I might not be the one in the front line, but I can do different things. And I think this forum with phenomenal people like yourself, and just goes to show that, hey, you know what? I am worthy. I can make a difference. And it just takes one. It just takes one.
That's it. Thank you so much, Kim. Do you want to let the viewers know where they can reach you?
You can reach me at Kim Osorio 1, the number 1, all O's. On Instagram. I'm also the same handle on Twitter, and it's also my AOL email address. So
we love you and we thank you all the time for everything you've done and contribute to our communities, to our urban stations, our urban magazines, our music. And I'm accountable, Miss, to make sure that this is all broadcasted in our reality series, because that's what we're watching, and we just need to really be empowered by all of this, okay? And we love you.
Absolutely.
You are a true inspiration, and you are true, again, just a warrior in the game. So salute, my queen. Keep doing the great work.
Thank you guys for everything that you're doing.
Absolutely. We'll talk behind the scenes.
All right.
Good night now.
Awesome. Beautiful.
Yeah, that was powerful. Everybody know who Kim Osorio is. Everybody know who Kim Osorio is.
We have many different platforms. We're going to be having this on all platforms, different demographics, and we need to make sure everybody knows who's on board. We can't just keep it, because we're an urban community and you should know who the source is. Some people don't even know what the source is, because
they all watch Love and Hip Hop. But they all watch Love and Hip Hop. But again, again, I've done a lot of interviews and do my show and different platforms. But again, that for me personally, as a young kid, reading the source, that was that was my halo. So that was a beautiful thing.
Awesome. I'm happy to have her here. Now you guys can connect and we're all a network.
So
I want
again,
to thank everyone. Is anybody on the line?
yeah, they're still here.
No, but I'm saying, is there anybody next or are we done?
No, that was it. It's your list, huh? That's it.
Okay. No, I mean, we have Freedom Williams on the bill. We had Bobby Simmons, who apparently couldn't get sound. And we had Lenny Green, who probably ended up having a show because he had given me heads up before that he
Right.
was.
But I think again, we can always do this again. This
Absolutely.
was fun. This is, again, I mean, it's meant to take people off the ledge.
Yeah.
You know, Carl, Michel spoke some poetic words. Anna, I mean, again, you know, obviously just Kim Osorio, great jewels. But again, this is what it's all about. And again, I just tell people, you know, while we're hurting and while we don't understand why, let's keep our cool. Let's not destroy what we built. Because again, just like anything, it takes years to build, but you can destroy something in seconds.
Yep.
Let's just be smart. Let's keep the pressure on. And let's keep the same energy in November. Let's keep it not just for our presidential elections, but for our local elections. Learn who your local Congress people are. There's a big, here in New York, there's a lot of Democrats. There's a big caucus coming up in June. Actually, this month in a few weeks. So learn who your people are. Learn your district. If you don't know, go to I think it's congress.org or go to Google and search it. Find out who your people are, because these are things you're gonna need. And like with so many people with unemployment right now that had to wait weeks and weeks and weeks, you know, reach out to your Congress people. That's their job. We put them in office, they get paid for that. So thank you, D-Essence, for this, for having me piggyback on this. This was really, real pleasure. I mean, I can't, you know, again, it's, you know, obviously I try not to do many outside of, you know, the mothership for me, but your family. So when you call, I come running.
Absolutely. And again, through our conversations, you know, I felt like this needed to happen. And you did on Saturday with one of the frontliners motivated me to put a panel together. It was basically a calling from God. I didn't even think about it. I just did it. And I ignored people telling me it's not going to do nothing. We're tired of talking. What is that going to do? Another town hall. I just told everybody get in and just watch me. And here we are. And I just want to let everyone know, please send in your 2020 absentee ballots. It is very important. It takes 5 seconds. You can probably even do it online. You don't even have to step out your house. You can also complete the 2020 census. That is very important. The census is for us. Also, we've been told by Travis Michel to do this again, because as we're doing action, we also need the healing. So, you know, maybe we can work with some more individuals that couldn't make it today and maybe open it up to a open forum and see what our public community has to say. Maybe we can bring in some councilmen.
We definitely have the access to do that now. And again, we kind of kick the ties. Actually, you know, I've been doing, well, we have one more person in the queue. I don't know, Michael Max. You know who that is?
Yes, that's BronxNet. Yes, Michael Max, Executive Director of BronxNet. That's my new home.
If he was 3 minutes later, he would have been out of.
Hi, Max. Can we turn your phone around?
He's connected. There he goes.
There you go. I love you, and I'm so happy we can close the show with you ending it.
So great that you're holding this discussion, Essence, and it's great to get in line with you.
Yeah.
I feel better when the community comes together and you having a forum for ideas and you know, raising awareness about not only the pandemic, but raising awareness about the need for social justice and standing up together, and voter literacy. You know, we're proud that you're part of the BronxNet family.
Thank you so much. Max, I would like to introduce you to Kevin Pryor of 950 Lounge Radio Network.
Pleasure, Max. Pleasure to meet you.
Great to meet you, Derek. Keep Bronx strong. Looking good.
I try.
So this is Michael Max Nabe. We also call him Max, but he is the executive director of BronxNet. And if you know of him, he is all over the Bronx. He is in the street with us. He is with our people. He's in our parades. He's at Orchard Beach. Like, he is our people, and I needed to have him on. Do you want to talk about, like, what are you feeling as a man in this community, seeing our communities in an uproar and what we can do as BronxNet as a community and what kind of action you're looking for?
I'm born and raised in the Bronx, born in Kingsbridge. I live by Van Cortlandt Park now, and you know, it's beautiful to see what the people of the Bronx can do together. And it was beautiful to see, you know, we had journalists out covering the protest in the South Bronx and Mott Haven, and it was strong. It was a good representation, and it was peaceful. And I think the message was clear, and it was articulate and thoughtful. And I think that's what we need to do, is stand together. We need to make sure we stand up to evil and cruelty and racism, because that's clearly what it was. You know, when you see George Floyd in that video, and he's wants to breathe, and he's begging for his mom who's passed away. I mean, but how could somebody listen to someone pleading like that and still be so cruel? And it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't, it doesn't compute. It doesn't, I don't understand, you know, how we don't have enough empathy for each other sometimes. And, you know, I think that's what this calls for. It calls for strong voices. It calls for action. It's not just hope, it's hope and action. And it calls for empathy, you know, and I would say that civic discourse is what we're about at BronxNet. It's about encouraging a culture of media participation, not just media consumption, but you, Decence, are a prime mover in that. And the work that you do on BronxNet and beyond is clearly important in connecting the Bronx to the world. And what we have to do together is also to let people know that on June 23rd, the primaries, election day, there's early voting before June 23rd. There is universal voting by mail that's happening. So the governor issued an executive order so you can issue an absentee ballot. So you need to, I think, familiarize yourself. And I mean, I think we all need to, with the candidates for the districts that are these Democratic primaries are happening in congressional districts and assembly districts, and where they stand on the issues. And at BronxNet, we're broadcasting a debate tonight at 9 p.m. on BronxNet, channel 67 Optimum, 33 Fios, and BronxNet.tv. For the 15th congressional district in the South Bronx, where there's a lot of candidates and a lot of strong
candidates, yeah.
And you know, we're working with Nos Quedamos also to raise awareness about this. And there's going to be another 15th candidate, People's Candidate Forum, and it's like, hey, we're hiring. The Bronx is hiring. Where do you stand? It's like a job interview. That's what the Nos Quedamos partnership and philosophy is on this. And then tomorrow we're doing, so today's the 15th congressional district, and all week at 9 p.m. And then tomorrow at 8 p.m. on BronxNet will be the 15th congressional district. But we also had a great debate for the 14th congressional district. You can see all the debates on BronxNet television, as also our website, BronxNet.tv.
You know, Max, I applaud you guys for that, because obviously BronxNet is no stranger to me, being a child son of the Bronx. And to have that where people have an outlet to go find these things, because the first thing they'll say is, I don't know these people. Like, I know on my show I've had Jamal Bowman, and I have Michael Blake in a few weeks. And again, we need these outlets, because again, what happens is when people do go vote, it's not enough just to go vote and not know the policy. You know, it's just like going to work and it's like, okay, I'm gonna sit here. What do I do now? You know, you have to know these candidates, and again, find the best match for you. That's what the democratic process is all about. And I salute BronxNet for putting it out there, because again, it's needed. And as much as it's important to vote on presidential elections and gubernatorial elections, what affects your local life is those congressional elections. And we know, being a pro-democratic state or city, it's probably coming down to the primary.
Yep.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's things we can do. I mean, you can take an online media education class and produce your own show, like Decence Romero does with GetInLine. And you could use our studios at BronxNet in times of normalcy, but we've migrated all of our media education workshops and our production training online. So during this period, this pandemic, we're helping producers produce content from the safety of your own home TV studio with the tools that are available. We're also working with educators in the Bronx, teachers, so that they can produce content and share with students and families at home on BronxNet television, reactivating educational access for children and families at home during the pandemic with educational lessons from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on BronxNet channel 68, Optimum 34 files in BronxNet.tv, and then in the afternoon on channel 67 Optimum at 2:30 to 4:30 for more educational content every day. And these educators are stepping up. And that's what this is about right now. If there's ever been a crucible for the people of the Bronx and the world, it's been now with this pandemic, with the injustices. And now's the time to really step up. It's a time to ask yourself, who am I? What am I doing? And what's important to me? And when does the path of least resistance not make sense? When do I need to take a tougher stand? Yeah. When do I need to look out for my friends, families, and neighbors? Because there's challenges and vulnerabilities, and there's communities that are in peril, and we've got to stand up for what is right, and we got to recognize what's inside of us and step up.
We are our brother's keeper.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any last remarks? Any last words, Max?
Please also stay safe, stay connected, keep Bronx strong. Let's try to be too blessed to stress when we stand together and we keep strong together.
Thank you for all you do for the Bronx. Thank you for always welcoming me into the new home. I love you guys. I'm safe. I hope you continue to speak out, be the change, be the difference, because we're in a sad predicament that color means everything. And if you're lighter, you're more dominant. So just use that, just use it and get the message across. Keep broadcasting intellectual conversations. Whatever you need from us, we're here. And thank you so much for joining our panel once again. We love you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Look at that. I love it. Yeah.
He's a marketing man too. He advertised at his finest.
Max, we love you. He's the dopest ever. Have a great night and we'll be in touch.
Salute, my friend.
Salute. God bless. God bless.
I tell you, Jess, and this has been really great. This has been great. I'm lost for words. Normally I have a bow on it.
Oh, we gotta let it resonate a little bit. We gotta watch it a little bit more and just start sharing it. And I'm gonna try to clip it up a little bit so I can put it on the platform of YouTube, and so people can just enjoy it and get something from out of it.
No doubt, and I'll get the techies involved. So
how you feeling? Do you feel like we did our job for now?
Well, it's funny. We did this obviously to help with other people, but even through our helping others, we help ourselves. And I think even for myself, this has been very rewarding. It's always great. Again, I do a show and I love to talk to people and express myself. And it's always great to be able to talk and have a great conversation, especially with you. Like I said, we do shows pretty much 3 times a week without a camera or mic, but it's great to have that. And before we go, I want to give condolences to you and your family. I know you got some things you have to take care of with family, and no matter what, it starts with that and those people who help build and make you. So my heartfelt condolences to you, your mother, your father, and everybody, and your family. My prayers are with you as you take
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for just being everything you are to me and who you are in the community and as a man, living this life and just guiding the individuals that are following you. Mm-hmm. Let's plan for maybe next week's topic or maybe the end of this week. I don't know.
Listen, we're still in quarantine. I got nowhere to go. I got nowhere to go. So, again, if it means having to sit down and have great conversation with great people. I mean, I see people reaching out, it's a lot of voices and a lot of voices we know personally. So I think
Absolutely.
to get that out is only healing. It's only healing.
Absolutely. We've been told that we brought hope back today, and you have to always have hope. And before you leave, just give out your information so people can support you and follow the movement of 950 Lounge and Kevin Pryor.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Radio.
Well, say it twice is always nice. Again, you can listen to us every morning on multitude of networks, but our new venture, CBTV Radio, WWRN. We start in Canada next week on Apex Radio, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. Catch us on iHeart On Demand, Apple TV, Roku. Again, we're growing it. Actually, it's fresh off the, I can say this to you because you're part of CBTV Radio, fresh off the mat. We also have now a new station that we premiere on Wednesday. We'll be on GetInLine. GetInLine is the #1 radio streaming portal in Europe. Mm-hmm. And now people in Europe will hear 950 Lounge, GetInLine, and so many other programs. So we're excited about that. And we're building a monster, and we're just getting started. So again, catch me on Instagram at 950kev. I don't sleep anymore, so I'm up all the time. And again, like I said, it's bigger than just us. And let's all keep staying strong, and let's just survive and be better.
Absolutely.
Better.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you for everyone joining us. Continue to share this live if you can. I'll post it up. I'll try to fix it up as well. Kev, thank you so much. I love you. I'll text you behind the scenes. And let's do it again. We got to keep this going. And once we clean this up, we got to start shipping this out places.
Bad boys moving silence.
Love you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Good night.